Good evening. Tonight we're going to be reading from Mortimer Me by Kathie McMahon, illustrated by Tom Tate. Now, some of the lower elementary may remember from earlier in the school year that Kathie McMahon was a guest, and we listened to her talk about the writing process and read an excerpt from this book. She has a special place in my heart because she was my elementary music teacher. Mortimer and Me, Chapter 1, Jimmy Troublemaker. James Andrew Robertson, you come and get this frog out of the laundry basket right this minute. I look up from my video game and spring out of Grandpa's lounge chair. Mom hasn't called me James since I flushed a toy truck down the toilet just to see what would happen. I better get in there quick. There you are, Herman. I reach into the basket and lift out my frog. I was wondering where you went. I peer up at my mother, who glares down at me. What did I tell you about pets, Jimmy? Mom folds her arms. But Mom, that's not fair. Lily is 2 years younger than me, and she has a cat. Why can't I have a pet? I'm not discussing this right now. Mom unfolds her arms and gazes out the window. Take that creature outside and let him go. It's a beautiful spring day. Why don't you go ride your bike around the neighborhood? Maybe you'll meet some of the kids before school starts up after spring break. I frown and hang my head. We just moved to Peabody, Wisconsin a week ago, and I haven't met anybody yet. I didn't have any friends in my old neighborhood in Arizona, so why does she think Peabody is going to be any different? I'm sure the real reason she wants me to ride my bike is because the moving truck just pulled up in the driveway. After Grandpa died last winter, he left us his house and everything in it. When we drove out here in our van, we crammed in as much of our own stuff as we could, but Mom is anxious to get our own furniture moved in, and obviously without my help. So I stick Herman in my shirt pocket and go out to the garage to get my bicycle. My bike is a couple of years old, with faded red paint and tires that have to be pumped up every other day. Dad says I can't have a new one until I show more responsibility. It's not my fault it rained the day I left my bike under the tree instead of in the garage, or the time I rode down the gravel road that made both tires go flat. How am I supposed to make new friends when I'm stuck with an old, ugly bicycle? Peabody is where my mom grew up, so when Grandpa died, my parents decided to move into his place. It's a big old farmhouse that sits on the edge of town. Dad is a fireman, so he had no problem getting a job here. Mom said moving to Peabody would give us all a fresh start. Whatever that means. All I know is I'll be at a different school with a whole bunch of new kids and a third-grade teacher who probably won't like me. How was I supposed to know that my first-grade teacher back in Arizona had allergies? When I brought her a flower from my yard, she sneezed for 5 whole minutes. Turns out it was something called ragweed. Then there was the time in 2nd grade that I drew a masterpiece on the board with a permanent marker. It was an accident. I didn't know my teacher kept the erasable markers in a special place. Boy, was Mr. Frank the custodian mad. I got sent to the principal's office for that prank, as he called it. The kids all laughed and started calling me Double Trouble. Seems like I can't do anything right. I gently take Herman out of my pocket and put him in the flower bed. I don't get why Mom won't let me have a pet. My sister Lily is only 6, and she has a cat. Lily calls her Muffin. Stupid name. If it was mine, its name would be something cool like Killer or Spike. Not that I want a dumb cat anyway. I'd rather have a dog, a really big dog. I pull my baseball cap out of my back pocket and plop it on my head. Grandpa bought it for me when he took me to the Minnesota Twins game last summer before he got sick. I never go anywhere without it. The breeze makes my jacket flap like wings as I pedal as fast as I can down the street. I whip around a corner too late to see a bunch of kids standing in the middle of the street playing baseball. I yank my bike to the right, but not before I almost plow into them. Hey, yells one boy, watch where you're going. Yeah, shouts another, you almost ran me over. I dodge the bat and ball in the street. Sorry, I yell back, but angry shouts followed me down the street anyway. The snow has melted, but piles of slush still line the streets. We spent a lot of summers here, and it's still hard to get used to all the trees. We have cactus in our front yard back home, but the neighborhoods here are full of bushes and flowers I've never seen. After riding around for a while, I decided to double back to our house and see if they'll let me help unload the truck. As I approach the driveway, this huge animal appears with a large cardboard box on top of his antlers. "Look out!" I yell at him and swerve out of the way so I don't hit him. The creature looks spooked and steps aside, but the box slips from his antlers and hits the ground. The sound of breaking glass echoes in my ears as I park my bike in the garage and bolt into the house. "Mom! Dad! There's this huge beast outside that just crushed a box of dishes. It wasn't my fault, honest." "That's probably the moose the guys at the firehouse were talking about," Dad says. "He most likely came out of the woods behind our house. Apparently his name is Mortimer, and he's harmless. Just a friendly moose that comes into town sometimes." "A moose?" Mom starts toward the door. "What's a moose doing with my dishes?" Dad grabs Mom's arm to hold her back. "The guy said he just likes to help people. Probably best to be cautious anyway. You stay in here and I'll go see what damage has been done." Mom keeps Lily and Muffin close by her side while I peek out the front window. Sure enough, there's this stupid moose standing over a box of broken dishes. The movers stay in the truck, not taking any chances. How did the moose get the box of dishes up onto his antlers? Dad creeps toward Mortimer, holding out his hand and talking in a low voice. Mortimer lowers his head and looks like he's about to cry or something. Finally, he turns around and clip-clops away. For a minute, I almost feel sorry for him. After all, he was only trying to help. Okay, that's the end of chapter 1, and we'll be back for chapter 2, which is called Mortimer the Hero. Good night.